possibly the worst mechanical design ever. So today I thought I'd do a bit of an explanation on how two-cycle oil injectors work. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there are familiar with premixed two-cycle engines like chainsaws, weed eaters, some dirt bikes, stuff like that. Now those use the good old mix the oil with the gas. You can regulate it yourself, use a richer mix, a leaner mix, and the oil mixes in with the gas, goes through the carburetor with the air and the fuel, and that's how it lubricates the piston, the rings, everything, the crankshaft bearings, the connecting rod bearings, all those good things. Now, somebody thought, I guess, with the Enduro bikes, oh, this is such a pain, why do I have to mix the gas? I just want to go to a gas station and fill up. Then I guess their prayer must have been answered when this little bugger came in. This is a pump off a Suzuki TS185, a 1976. It's made by Mikuni, and it's pretty much run by an impeller. It's like a pump, and this is the inlet where it would connect to a reservoir, a tank that you fill with the same oil that you would use for premix. So you just fill up the tank, the oil would go through this inlet, the pump would be running, and right here is like a little butterfly. Well, I shouldn't say butterfly, because actually the insides of these aren't like a butterfly. But this is what regulates how much oil is actually being sent through this system. It would be hooked up to a throttle cable. Now your standard throttle cable would only have one cable. Now this would have one cable coming from the throttle, and it would split into two. One of them would obviously go to the carburetor, and the other one would hook up to this oil injector pump. So when you're twisting your throttle, it's also twisting this along with the carburetor. Now, like I said earlier, oil is always coming through this inlet here. It would have a bolt holding it on, similar to this. With oil always coming through this inlet, it would go through the pump would be turning, and it would make its way down to here. And these two splittings here, one of these lines would go to your bottom end, the crankcase, to lubricate where the crankshaft, the connecting rod, and everything like that. And this line would go right beside the carburetor on the intake manifold that's attached to your cylinder, which would be connected right here. And if you were to take a look inside of the intake manifold, you would see that right in there is a little inlet where the oil would come through that would mix with the fuel in the air. And you're probably thinking, wow, a device that takes away the hassle of mixing two-cycle oil and gas. Well, there is a reason why I called this possibly the worst mechanical mechanism ever made. Yes, this is great for two-stroke road bikes, something that you gotta fill up with gas at a gas station where you do not have that option unless you carry a jerry can if you want to mix the gas properly. Yes, it's pretty good for that. But the problem is with these is they plug up. Now, if you let your bike, obviously you do not ride bikes in the winter, but I guess if you lived in a place such as maybe, I don't know, Texas or some southern state, or even Mexico, some southern country, then maybe that would be good because you do not have to store your bike for the winter. Now, a lot of people, they don't properly winterize these things, and that's what happens. The next season, the oil that's in there is old and stale, and it gets thicker, and it's just horrible, and it plugs it up, and then their engine blows. That's why I do not like these. Now, with pretty much every engine that I've had that's had these, I've usually either premixed my own gas or relied on the oil injector, but it all depends. See, when I first get the engines, because obviously I buy and I sell a lot of things that I get, I first run it on a bit of premix and make sure that the oil injector is actually doing its job, and that's how I do it. So I would suggest you just do not rely on the oil injector unless you know that it works great, and yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. So oil injectors, they do have their pros and cons, but they are okay. I don't know, most snowmobiles have them, and I don't really like that idea too much of a snowmobile having an oil injector. I know my old snowmobile didn't have one, so I was pleased with that. But they do serve a purpose, and when they do work well. And yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know on oil injectors. And this was another video by Pimpin' Pens. Please remember to comment, rate, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.